The energy of the battle between Goku and Gohan vibrated through the foundations of the castle, shaking the destroyed remains of what once was an imposing fortress. Both warriors were immersed in a fierce fight, exchanging blows so powerful that the ground trembled under their feet. The air itself seemed charged with tension, as if the whole universe held its breath while observing the fate of the Saiyans and Broly, who still could not free himself from the restrictive collar that limited his power. Broly, from his distant position, observed the fight with a mixture of frustration and despair. Despite all his power, he was tied up, unable to help his son. He knew that Goku, although strong, could not maintain that intensity forever. The concern overwhelmed him as he saw how Gohan's attacks became more and more brutal. Vegeta, next to him, watched in silence. His pride as a Saiyan did not allow him to express his admiration for Goku's fight, but he could not deny what he saw. Goku was pushing his limits, as he always did, but there was something else. Vegeta felt it in the air, a vibration in Goku's foot, something different. "What is happening?" Vegeta would say. "I cannot lose control. I cannot be like me," Broly would say, frustrated. Coomber, for his part, enjoyed every second. His attacks were fast and devastating, but his true intention was to see how far he could push Goku. Every blow he connected seemed to tell his opponent that he knew he could do more, and he was right. Goku, jaded by the effort, but inside he felt a spark, a familiar but different feeling at the same time. Coomber had pushed him beyond any limit he had faced before. Beyond fear and pain, the anger for the suffering of his father Broly and for what that monster was trying to achieve grew within him. He could not allow Coomber to use that dark power. Suddenly, Goku's ki would explode. "Coomber!" Goku would scream out of himself. A golden wave of energy expanded from the center of the battle. Vegeta and Broly would feel the shock wave, observing how Goku's figure disappeared momentarily in a blazing light explosion. "Kakaroto!" Vegeta would scream, unable to contain the surprise. Coomber, for the first time in the entire battle, would retreat, covering his eyes with the glow. He could not see his opponent, but he felt it. An incredible pressure, a force that rivaled everything he had known until that moment, enveloped Goku. And when the light finally dissipated, there he was. Goku was surrounded by a vibrant golden aura, and his hair, now iridescent and dyed the same color. His eyes, previously full of fatigue, now shone with a fierce determination. Goku had achieved what many Saiyajins could only dream of. He had transformed into Super Saiyan. Vegeta could not believe what he saw. He, the prince of the Saiyajins, had heard stories about this legendary transformation, but he had only witnessed it in Broly's hands. And now there was Goku transforming into Super Saiyan, honoring his father's blood. Coomber, for his part, frowned, irritated by what he saw. Goku's power had grown exponentially, and the worst of all was that Coomber had not yet achieved what he sought. He had not yet deciphered the secret behind the legendary power of the Saiyajins. "So, you've finally done it," he murmured, Coomber, while a perverse smile was drawn on his face. "Perfect. Now I can see what you're really made of." Without waiting for an answer, Coomber would charge at Goku with all his fury, throwing a direct punch to his face. But Goku, in his new form, intercepts him easily. His hand grabs Coomber's fist before he can connect the blow, and with a quick turn, he would throw it against one of the castle walls with a huge force. The wall collapses on Coomber, but Goku would not wait. With his increased speed, he appears in front of his enemy before he could get up, unleashing a series of fast and precise blows, each one stronger than the previous. Coomber was being overcome, something he had never imagined. "This is the end, Coomber," Goku would shout with his voice resonating with renewed confidence. For a moment, it seemed that Goku had won. Goomber was cornered, bleeding and moaning over the effort. But something inside Goomber would begin to change. A low and brutal laugh would escape from his lips as he slowly rose from the rubble. "So, this is the power of the Super Saiyan," Goomber murmured, with a malicious smile on his face. "Now I understand everything. It's easier than I thought." Goku's eyes would open with surprise. He knew what was coming. The fight was about to take on a new intensity. "This has to be a joke," Goku would say. Goomber's ki would begin to grow exponentially, surrounding him in a dark storm of energy that distorted the air around him. The same words that Goku had used resonated in Goomber's mind, and finally he would achieve it. With a deafening roar, Goomber's body would transform. His hair turns gray and acquires a golden hue, similar to Goku's. But his aura was dark and chaotic, filled with pure and unbridled anger. Goomber had achieved what seemed impossible. He had attained the power of a Super Saiyan. Goku instinctively retreated. He knew he was in trouble. "Did you think only I could attain this power?" Goomber would say, with his voice resonating with a challenging tone. "Thank you. Now I am also a Super Saiyan, and I assure you, I am stronger than you." "You bastard!" Goku would say furiously. "It can't be! All is lost," Vegeta would say disconcerted. "Goku!" Broly would say stunned. Goomber would charge Goku with a speed that rivaled his. Goku would barely have time to block the attack before being thrown through the castle, destroying what was left of the walls in his path. The impact would be so strong that the ground beneath him would sink, creating a crater in the ground. "Kakaroto!" Vegeta would scream as he ran towards him. Broly, observing Goomber's power and seeing how his son was overcome, would feel a wave of growing fury within him. The necklace around his neck began to emit sparks, unable to contain the energy that was now accumulating in his body. "I can't let this happen," Broly murmured between clenched teeth. The necklace that had restricted his power for so long would finally give in, exploding into 1,000 pieces. "Broly!" Vegeta would scream, seeing how the legendary Saiyan began to transform. His fury, fed by the suffering of his son and by the threat that Goomber represented, would lead him to release his true power. Broly, now free, would cast a deafening roar. His body expanded, his muscles would tense together with his ki, exploding in a furious explosion of power. Goomber, who was about to hit Goku with the final blow, would stop to feel the growing energy around him. His gaze was directed at Broly, who was now completely transformed into his legendary Super Saiyan form. "This can't be," Goomber murmured. Feeling the crushing pressure of Broly's power, Goku, taking advantage of the moment of distraction, would retreat. Chaining, he knew he had recovered a little time, but it was not enough. He needed more power to match Goomber. Broly, now completely consumed by his fury, would charge against Goomber with overwhelming speed and strength. The clash of his energies resonated through the battlefield, and for the first time, Goomber was overcome. But the battle was not over yet. Broly, now transformed into his legendary Super Saiyan form, would not waste time. His unleashed fury propelled him towards Goomber with a force that shook the ground at his feet. The air itself seemed to distort under the colossal power of the Saiyan. Goomber, for the first time since the beginning of the battle, seemed genuinely worried. Despite having also attained the power of a Super Saiyan, Broly's energy outweighed him in intensity. With a roar, Broly would punch Goomber in the face. The impact would be so devastating that the ground would break under the feet of both warriors. Goomber would barely have time to raise his arms to block, but the force of the blow would throw him through the rubble, hitting violently against what was left of the castle. Goku, taking advantage of the distraction, would rise in the air, recovering his breath. Pain and fatigue were still present in his body, but the fighting spirit of the Saiyans burned within him. He knew that Broly, even in his legendary form, could not maintain control for long, and it was imperative that they work together. "Father!" Goku would scream, gathering his energy. "Let's stop him together!" Broly, whose rage was about to consume him, turns his head towards his son. His eyes, lit with an uncommon anger, recognize Goku's call. An instant of clarity would cross his mind, and with a groan of affirmation, both Saiyans would simultaneously launch against Coomber. Coomber, still hesitating after Broly's attack, would try to counterattack with a blast of dark energy. But the combination of Goku and Broly would be unstoppable. Goku, in his form of Super Saiyan, moved at almost an impossible speed and precision, launching bursts of blows that Coomber barely managed to dodge. Meanwhile, Broly attacked from the other flank with a brutality that shook the air around him. The synchrony between father and son was impeccable. Every time Coomber tried to concentrate on one of them, the other hit him with an inhuman force. The explosions of energy illuminated the battlefield while the three warriors exchanged devastating attacks. Coomber, now in a disadvantageous position, groaned in frustration. He knew he was being surpassed, but he would not give up easily. With a perverse smile, his dark ki would begin to intensify, preparing for a last and desperate attempt to defeat the Saiyans. "You won't beat me so easily," Coomber shouted. Goku and Broly would exchange a quick look, knowing that the next attack could decide the fate of the battle. The real fight was about to begin.